Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Policies. I about music, movies, art, and culture. Before we officially start, I just want to let you all know that my first ever full-length fantasy novel titled To Kill a Dragon now is available on Amazon by Morning Rain Publishing. So, links in the description below if you'd like to take a look, maybe pick it up, maybe drop a review. After all, if I'm dishing out, I gotta be able to take it too. I'd be incredibly grateful. But now onto the matter at hand, the newest album from Illusive titled Ambrosia. So we're reaching the time of year where I can get a little bit more time in my schedule, thank God, where I can dig into some records that I might have missed or venture outside my comfort zone a bit. And inevitably, just like last year, that means there's going to be some Electronica records that just pass me by and I'm going to have to delve into to increase my growing knowledge of that format. And just like last year, this time we're going to be venturing deep into the indie set for Illusive, an artist that actually approached me back in the early months of this year. We connected on Twitter, I took a listen to some of his stuff that he had created. After liking most of it and passing on my commentary, I made the promise that when he got a full-length record together, I'd sit down, give him a full-length review. And after some unfortunate delays, that record was finally released on Bandcamp and SoundCloud right in the middle of the busiest 2 months of my year. Yeah, September and October have been absolutely bonkers in 2015, especially for me this year, and this album just unfortunately just slipped me by. But you know what? I did make a promise, and the snippets that I had heard were promising, and considering the album was pretty short, I figured I'd just make the time and dig in. So, what did we get with Illusive Ambrosia? Well, it was an odd listen, that's for damn sure. Like most Electronica albums I've covered, Illusive might start off with something of a formula, low-key, trap-flavored progressions that embrace some somber textures and atmosphere more than straightforward melodies, before making a hard left turn to more organic material that doesn't seem to really stick. I'd be inclined to say this album is more of a beat tape than a full-length album, especially when we consider the track length, but for as much as I can see a whole slew of modern hip-hop and R&B MCs really liking to rap over this, there's enough unique personality in Illusive production to make Ambrosia a fascinating listen all on its own, even if I do feel there's more ideas here than solid execution. Now I should explain, the best place to start would be the production. As you'd expect, it's not so much imposing in its darkness than just kind of melancholic, which is the natural pairing for the atmosphere that feels very spacious and letting the layers of synth and vocal fragments build throughout the mix, yet surprisingly intimate, especially considering how much of the percussion progressions are placed right at the front of the mix. That's mostly because instead of any massive melodic shifts or change-ups, most of this record's progressions take place in the beats and the percussion, which skitter from trap hi-hats to stuttering cracks to snaps or washed-out claps. The opening track, Azorian, prime example. I definitely like the underlying melody and feels one of the tracks in this album that feels like a fully formed song, but despite that melody and female vocal fragments, it's really subtle stutters in the beat and eventually in the background melody itself that gives this album its textures. Little tensions that this album is trying to ease out. So one of the reasons that the more clunky and bass-heavy tracks don't quite click with me in the same way. Yeah, I can see why some MCs might find them attractive, but songs like Air Underwater or the few moments where the bass takes over on Theogony or Tropical, this feels a little bit clumsy to me, especially when some of the percussion progressions can feel slightly askew or off rhythm. But it's on Theogony that the first major shift in the instrumentation takes place. The thicker, distorted tone that opens up the song does clash pretty harshly with the previous song, but it leads into these liquid guitars flowing against the thicker synth and breathy and gorgeous female vocals. It's easily my favorite song on this album, not just because the production and atmosphere is superb, but it leverages that balance between organic and synthetic so well. Loft noise goes for a darker clash with some spikier trap elements that don't quite work as well, but then we get Fakear Interlude, which features these walls of strings that are mixed way too loud with the rest of the mix, which actually consists of acoustic guitar that actually sounds really good. If only that track was balanced properly, it could have worked as a really cool interlude, but really the guitar moments give this album a lot of personality and shows that a few tonal choices can work against these modern progression trends. I can see that sort of organic sound working really well. The problem becomes that for as good as these ideas are, they're seldom developed into full-length songs. There are only 3 songs on this 25-minute album that run over 3 minutes and 4 songs that are less than 2 minutes in length. And sure, that means that you don't exactly wear out its welcome. You can easily listen to this a number of times in one sitting, as I did. But with the cluster of unique ideas and the occasional rough transition, we're left with slivers of musical progressions that can feel a little bit undercooked and underdeveloped and can occasionally clash with each other. It makes the flow of this album pretty jarring, especially when you realize that this album could have easily made itself longer by evolving the melodies as much as it did the percussion. Furthermore, it does a disservice to the album's tone. So much this album would benefit from a longer, more languid delivery to intensify that melancholic atmosphere, but the vibe often feels disrupted before it began. It doesn't let itself get into a really good groove. Now look, I definitely think that Illusive has a lot of potential. Hell, that vocal snippet on the final track from him shows that if you want to take more of a vocal role, he easily could. He doesn't sound bad. bad. And I do like the addition of more organic guitar and bass into Electronica. It adds a warmth and grit to these textures that's definitely welcome. But this album definitely needed more meat on its bones, more melodies that could expand and make a lot of use of that great atmosphere. As such, for me, it's a very strong 6 out of 10, but definitely recommend you guys keep an eye on this guy. It might be a short, occasionally cluttered listen, definitely an intriguing one, and I can appreciate that. So, it's Ambrosia by Illusive. Check this out. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. Anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, or any other albums coming out that you want me to take a look at, I'd be more than happy to give them a listen. Until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.